start. Do we need to record or is she recording?
It will record from the live stream.
Okay, thank you. And Melissa, can you give me a thumbs up when it's okay? We're live. Good evening. I call to order the special meeting of the Beaverton School Board on June 12, 2025 at 5:37 p.m. In attendance, we have our 6 board members with Susan Greenberg excused. Is there a motion to refer the complaint against board member Susan Greenberg to a third-party investigator?
I move to refer the
Complaint?
the complaint against board member Susan Greenberg to a third-party investigator.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any comments? Ugana?
Thank you for this opportunity to address our community before I vote tonight. I want to go on the record that I voted no on this issue previously, and I'll be voting no again tonight. I believe in democracy. I believe in the power of freedom of speech or free speech. I am committed to upholding the principles of the First Amendment, which guarantees that individuals have the right to express their thoughts, their opinions without fear of censorship. And while I may not agree with certain statements or comments made by the individuals and my colleagues, I wholeheartedly support their right to express their opinions and speak their truths. It is essential that we remain steadfast in our commitment to protecting the fundamental rights of our citizens, including the right to free speech. Using taxpayer dollars to fund a third-party investigation into school board members' personal rights to free speech would be a misallocation of resources, especially during a time when our school district is facing a shortfall in budget. As a responsible steward of the taxpayer money, I am dedicated to ensuring that our district's finances are managed prudently. And that said, it will be a no from me tonight. Thank you.
Tammy?
Thank you. And thank you, Director Anyanaya. And I want to share for the record and our community listening at home that as a member of this board, I will always stand up for the principles of free speech and our First Amendment right to speak freely, especially when these issues are impacting our community members. That is why, consistent with my previous vote, I will be voting no to authorize a third-party investigation of my board colleague, Director Greenberg. I do not believe we should be policing our colleagues' free speech. I can't remember that, Susan or I caused an insurrection or encouraged our followers to march down the street with tiki torches. And while multiple members of our community let me know directly that they were very upset by Director Greenberg's op-ed, and it is not an op-ed that I would write, I respect the right of Director Greenberg to do so. And we should not let the ire of a dozen or so people on either side of an issue silence our voices or stifle the free speech of others. We are in a unique position in that we can't be fired from the board. And if we are afraid to use our voices, then how can we expect others to feel safe doing so? It is legit for community to disagree with us about politics. It is not legit for the community to tell us to sit down and shut up. If the members of our community disagree with the politics of board members, there is already a prescribed solution. Vote them out. The board decision from 2 weeks ago opened a can of worms, so here we are again. I think this is a distraction from the important work that the board should be doing. Thank you.
Justice?
To me, as in all matters, I think this is about process, and no one has been told they cannot do. No one has been said they cannot exercise their voice. I exercise mine regularly in the work that I do outside of my service on this board. Also, as the body that has to make a decision and has to respond to complaints that are made against us, whatever that response may be, we have to have a process to do that. I think that process requires some time. And I think if that process ultimately results in a conversation of the sitting board to come to a consensus on what to say, I think that being informed by another perspective that is not one of the sitting board members is not an unfair process. I don't think that implies if in the past the construct of investigation is only used as a punitive action in our society, that is a judgment on our past institutions' failings. That is not an assessment of trying to have a process and give due time to something that someone took the time to complain about, whatever their motivations may be. I understand the risk. I understand the pain. I understand the ire. I understand the concern about cost. As a society, we have to decide, is the right thing, or is the cost the right thing? Is it only a time to take time with something or to make space for those who have to make a decision to sit with that decision and assess the information only when we aren't sure? I understand the sentiment. I understand the risk. I myself would rather not run into a conversation about one of my colleagues with only our own perspectives in the room. I also, quite frankly, out of respect for my colleagues, there's no joy or excitement to find judgment in anyone here. Also, outside of the complaint process, we get regular communication about how we deal with something that happens here. And in this, that falls to our responsibility. I feel it's my responsibility to make sure we have a robust conversation when we deliberate and make whatever responses we make. And that's where I sit on this. I understand other perspectives and I respect that, and also honor to respect the will of the board to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Sunita?
Thank you. When a complaint is brought to the board, our policy is that we have to respond to them, especially when a complaint comes in written formal report. By responding to that complaint, we want to make sure that we are, like Director Carpenter said, that the board members have the right to speak. Yes, we have the right to speak. But if somebody brings in a complaint and says that what you're speaking is not true, or they are being hurt or harmed, or whatever their complaint may be, then it becomes the responsibility of the board to make sure that we look into it. And the policy states that we have to respond to it and to give them that respect, because we do respect our board members deeply, what they are doing, whether it's Director Greenberg or Director Carpenter. We respect you. We respect you that you are standing up for what you believe is right. And if you are right, then we have to make sure that you're given that right. But if you're not, and if somebody is being harmed by that, we need to make sure that we are following the process to make sure that we are not following the policies that were set by the board too. And if there are corrections and clarifications that we make, this is something new that happened in our district, and we have to, if clarifications need to be made to this policy, then we will look into it. But at the current moment, under the current policies, if a complaint comes in, we have to respond to it, and we have to respond to it respectfully and make sure that we are doing it correctly and not making a wrong decision against our board member. So thank you.
Melissa?
Thank you. I likewise see that our job is to follow policy when we have a policy. So in a case like this, a complaint has come in. It is a serious complaint, and we need to take it seriously. And in our policy, it says if there is a complaint against a board member, we can and we may ask a third party to examine the situation and determine if board policy was not followed or if board policy was followed. And I think it is a much healthier step to ask that third party to do the examination of the situation so that I am not trying to examine the situation on behalf of a fellow board member. None of us are in that position. We get to ask a third party to examine the situation so that the information that we get back to know if board policy was followed or board policy was not followed, that information is thorough and without any concerns or our own experiences. So, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. For myself, I know that the board has received multiple complaints and is obligated to respond. We want to make sure and ensure that we consider their complaints about our fellow board member. And we know that it's a delicate matter, and we want to consider all the pieces that have been raised by our community members that are expressing their thoughts on and asking us by filing a formal complaint. To ensure a fair and objective process, I believe that the board, having a neutral third party, look at the complaint, fact-finding inquiry of the complaints, reviewing our complaints, and then applying policies, and then reporting back to the whole board is a way that will help us as a board inform us as a board and help us consider if any of our policies have been broken, and in that way also helping us to revise policies so that it's clear. So I just want to thank the board for taking the time to consider and to share your thoughts, and I want to our community to know that we take complaints, informal complaints, seriously, and that we are looking into the complaints and how those complaints, facts of those complaints go with our policies. It's not, that's all I'll say, I guess. With that, I am going to call a vote, and all in favor of approving a motion to have a third, to refer a complaint against the board member Susan Greenberg to a third-party investigator, please raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That's 4. All those opposed, please say no.
No.
That's 2. And we have Susan Greenberg was recusing herself from this vote. With that, the motion passes 4-2, and one person recusing themselves. With that, I bring to a close the June 12, 2025 special meeting of the Beaverton School Board, adjourning at 5:50 p.m. Thank you.